Today I was just going to run through what, like all of my hobby equipment, and just try and show that you don't need a lot of stuff to be able to paint in this hobby. Um, I sort of have what I would consider to be close to the bare minimum, plus a few additional items which aren't required but I've accumulated over time. Um, as a really simple example, I use a tile as my palette. I find it makes for easy cleaning. Once you've used it a few times, you can sort of just peel the paint off, and it comes off quite easily, especially if you use like a little scraper of some sort. But in saying that, you don't need to do it very frequently. You can just sort of let it build up for a while. I don't have any issues with it. I know wet palettes are considered to be ideal. I just haven't really gotten around to building one. And I find that this works really well. So I would recommend just getting a tile. I think it cost 50 cents from Bunnings here in Australia, but any sort of hardware store would have it. I use Chucks as a sort of paper towel style wiping thing. These are good because they're disposable once you've used them too much, but you can use them quite a lot. You can see here I've got quite a lot of paint on all sides, and I'm definitely not thinking about throwing this one out yet, so still got lots of time on that. In terms of paintbrushes, I've got a few. I don't use a lot of these, partly because I don't need to, and I'll just get them all out. There's a couple more. Yeah, a lot of these aren't particularly useful. These are some like fine detail brushes, but I've found that I just don't use these. They're not really worth it. The bristles get stuck. They have a curved end, which you might be able to see there, which makes painting eyes really hard. And in that case, I just don't use these. So in terms of the brushes that I do use, these are the ones. So I've got a medium sort of synthetic brush. I use this for washes when I'm trying to be specific on where I'm going, and as well as metallic paints. The reason for that is because I don't want metallic paints in my good brush. They can make it spread, and it's just not great for the brush itself. I've also got this larger brush, which I use for sort of base coating large areas as well as priming the models. You can see that it's really been through the works. Like it should be bristles all the way down, but the paint is just clogged and it's solid, so I really don't care what happens to this brush, and I just use it however I see fit. And then I've got my good quality brush. This is a Raphael Kolinsky Sable. I think it cost me 20 bucks. You can see it's got a nice point. I use this for highlighting and smaller base coats. It is the best brush I own, basically because of that nice tip. And this is the only brush I really try and take care of. You don't need a brush this good. A good or a new synthetic brush would do fine, but you might find that after a little while it's worth investing in this. I've had this for probably 6 months. It's still doing pretty well. I've used it on a lot of models, and I mean, yeah, I no regrets purchasing this. In terms of other equipment, I've got a really cheap hobby knife. I should replace the blade more often. I don't. Do what you will with that. In terms of dry brushes, I have a series of makeup brushes. These are really cheap, and I probably need a new set. As you can see, there's sort of paint stuck in this one, and it's not as soft as it once was. But the ideal dry brush is a big soft brush that you can, load up with paint, dry it all off, and then brush with. And the issue with this one is simply that I haven't cleaned it properly. So that's on me. And then there's also 2 other sizes. I haven't used this little one. I think it's too small. But this one's quite good for smaller models when you're trying to dry brush specific segments without hitting the whole model. And these were a really cheap pack from like a $2 shop. I have a painting handle. This is just sort of personal preference. A lot of people use just little dowels or bits of cork with sticky tack stuck on top of them. I quite like this because it's really easy to swap. You'll see me using this in my videos, but by no means a necessary purchase. You can absolutely use free alternatives. All of this sort of stuff is just models that I am yet to paint. This is Guild Ball, the Farmers. I think they're goalpost. I just haven't painted it. And I mean, yeah, here are some really old Space Marine models that, you know, I painted initially but haven't gone back to. So you can sort of see that I've got space in this. I really have a limited set up. In terms of the paints I have, I've got a dark primer and a light primer, specifically a white primer. These are really good. They help paint stick to models. These are the Vallejo ones, but I mean, I think I just chose the cheapest ones available on Amazon at the time. And I've only ever had 1 bottle of these, and I painted a lot of stuff. I can go through what I have painted in another video at some point, but really recommend this. They help paint stick to plastic models and metal as well, but yeah, they're really, you need some sort of primer. Spray primers are good. I find them more expensive and therefore I don't bother, but I totally see the benefit of a spray primer. So if you can get a spray one, spray is probably better. In terms of the paint colors I have a few duplicates, and I think that has sort of happened accidentally over time, either through free options or just accidental purchases. But in terms of sort of the core colors of what I believe you should have, primary colors are always good. These are all Citadel paints. They were simply what I started with, and I mean, realistically, if I was to purchase more paints now, I'd probably get some in dropper bottles. They're better, but you know, we're here now, and I'm not like they do perfectly fine in terms of colors. You're also going to want white and black. White has a few different options, so these are sort of the 3 main ones that I have, or the 2 whites and a black. You'll notice it says base and layer. The layer is a much more watered down paint, so it doesn't cover as well, but it's good for highlighting, whereas the base is actually a slight off-white that covers a bit better. And in terms of black, I've just got the 1 black. I do have a second pot of black because I actually went through it, and this one's empty, so I can probably throw that out. In terms of additional colors, browns are really good. I've sort of got 3 kind of brown colors. This one's really good for any sort of leather pouch or anything that any models have. This one's good for wood, or as a base for leather pouches with that as a highlight. Bugman's Glow I actually bought because my first models were Poxwalkers, and I think the person at the shop said that was a good colour, but I find it's a really good skin colour. If you add white to it, it turns into a sort of a peachy colour that I use for a lot of the skin that I paint. So I find it's quite good also as a highlight for either Rhinox Hide or as the base for a highlight of Scrag Brown. So no regrets there. As you can see, I have a duplicate white. I think this came free with some models. Probably wouldn't have bought it, but I had it. I've got a couple of greens. This is because I was painting a set of Rangers at one point, and I found that having the two greens is really good. This one as a base and this one as a highlight. You can mix sort of yellow or white into a green to make it lighter, and in future I'd probably do that, but it is convenient to have two if you can. Grey I use quite a lot. It's good on white models. A lot of I have a Tau Army, and I found that using this grey for a lot of the panels on the mech suits, or the XV8s, was good. It was a really good color, and I was a bit sick of painting white, mixing black in with it, over mixing the amount and it drying out. So having just a base grey is really good. It also has better coverage than white. So if you're mixing sort of a lighter, I suppose a dark grey, you can use this instead of white with black. Yeah, I think it's a really good colour. I was also painting mice, the Mice and Mystics colours, miniatures, sorry. And I mean, this is a fantastic colour for mice fur, so. Here are my metallic colours. Basically, I have a gold and a silver. I might prefer to have a brighter silver, but this one's done the job. I try and use it sparingly. I don't have many models that are primarily metallics, but I think these are fine. This one's great for any sort of sword, and this is good for any sort of decorative jewelry or things like that. On any models. So those are the only two I've got, and they're great. You can mix colors with them as well. If you want a slightly red metallic paint, you mix a bit of red with the silver. It's pretty versatile. And then the other colors I've got a purple. I found that mixing red and blue didn't make a great purple. I think I needed purple once, so I bought one. Haven't used it much since. I think I used it for the first time the other day in a long time since my first model with it. Probably wouldn't buy it again. It's just something I've got now. And this one I've got because, as I was saying, I was painting Mice and Mystics, the tail feathers. There's a bright blue bird in that I really wanted to make look good. It's sort of a standout piece. So I got this one just to really step up that piece. And I've used it a lot since. It's a really good highlight for the dark blue that I've got, which I don't think I'd be able to recreate the color of. I think you can mix a bit of white into this one and it would make a good highlight as well. But I really liked the color of this one. I thought it was really nice, bright blue. But yeah, that's everything I own. I do also have a painting mat. Oh, sorry. I've forgotten the washers. I've got 3 washers. Basically skin tone brown and black. As you can see, I've used the black one the most. It's only about half full, a bit under. These are the only 3 washers I think I've ever needed. You can mix paints into them to make different colors, especially with the black. If you're, washing a blue model, you can put a bit of blue in and you make a blue wash. They're really, really handy. They help step a model up from sort of a 2 to an 8. You do this plus some highlights and you're set. Would really recommend these for anyone who's getting into it. And the other thing I have, as I was saying, is a painting mat. This I purchased primarily because I do resin work as well, and this is just a good protective surface and it helps you cut on it, and there's no risk of going onto the mat below. As you can see, I paint on like a black desk mat, which obviously shows a lot of dirt if there is any, but you can absolutely just use a plastic sheet. I used to use a plastic cutting board, had no problems with that, and just upgraded to this after I think about a year of painting, so by no means a requirement, but it is pretty handy and not too expensive either. And one last thing, this is my paint jar. It's an old pesto jar that I rinsed out, put through the dishwasher, and has simply been converted. I find it's good to have a lid, just to prevent spills when you're not working on it. You can see it's well used, and I mean it does the job perfectly well. I rinse it out in between painting, or when I start a new project, I empty it and refill. But I mean, otherwise it's just a jar of water. I don't know what to say. Hopefully that shows you how little you can have. All of this fits in a tackle box here, which is clearly not very big. I think it's probably 30 centimeters long or so. And I mean, whenever I'm working on models, they live in here as well. You can see I've got some 15mm Elven warriors that I've started with a sort of dry brush, just to see the models themselves. But I mean, yeah, I've got a few other models in here, nothing super interesting. Again, some 15mm models. Here's a spare Tower Warrior that I just never painted up. Some more terrain for Guild Ball. Yeah, I mean, that's everything that I've got. It really is low impact in terms of space and cost. I've accumulated these paints over about a year's time, and I'd only ever buy them if I needed them. I absolutely started off with red, yellow, blue, white, and black, and those primers, and that's all you really need, and anything else you can sort of get as you go. So yeah, thanks for watching.